Was once the tallest statue on Earth, a bronze giant towering over the ancient harbor of Rhodes, standing nearly as tall as the Statue of Liberty's torch. The Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, symbolized the strength and unity of a Greek island that had triumphed against impossible odds. But it stood for only 56 years before an earthquake reduced it to ruins. Yet centuries later, the legend of the Colossus still captures the imagination. And one question remains: could we rebuild it today? And how would modern engineers bring this ancient titan back to life? The Colossus was constructed around 280 BC by the sculptor Charis of Lindos to honor the sun god Helios. It was built to celebrate Rhodes's victory over the invading army of Demetrius, a conqueror whose failed siege left behind war machines that were melted down to forge the statue itself. The ancient accounts describe the Colossus as standing over 100 feet tall, made entirely of bronze plates over an iron framework. Inside, massive stone weights stabilized the structure against the wind and its own weight. It wasn't simply a statue, it was a masterpiece of engineering centuries ahead of its time. But how did they build such a colossal figure without cranes or steel? Ancient workers built the Colossus piece by piece from the feet upward. They constructed earthen ramps around it as it rose, packing soil and sand so they could climb and add new layers. Each bronze plate was cast individually and hammered into place over the inner iron supports. When the statue was complete, the ramps were removed, revealing a gleaming bronze god standing guard over the harbor. For more than 5 decades, sailors arriving at Rhodes saw the sunlight glinting off its bronze skin, a beacon of pride and power. But in 226 BC, a massive earthquake struck the island. The Colossus snapped at the knees and crashed to the ground. Ancient writers said even fallen, its remains inspired awe. Few men could embrace its thumb, wrote Pliny the Elder. Now imagine rebuilding that same wonder with modern technology. What would it take to recreate a 100-foot bronze giant by today's standards? First, engineers would need to design a structural framework strong enough to withstand not only its immense weight, but also earthquakes and coastal winds. The original bronze shell would have weighed around 225 tons, roughly the same as 30 adult elephants. Using bronze and steel, modern engineers could replicate the outer appearance while drastically improving internal support with carbon fiber reinforcements and a seismic-resistant base. The foundation would be crucial. The original statue likely stood on a marble platform inland from the harbor, not straddling the entrance as old myths suggest. Today, that foundation would need to be anchored deep into bedrock, requiring specialized geotechnical drilling and reinforced concrete pilings, a process alone costing tens of millions of dollars. Next comes the outer structure. Bronze casting of this size is extremely expensive. A large-scale recreation would need modular sections cast in high-strength bronze alloy, or fabricated with copper panels coated to replicate the ancient sheen. Based on today's material costs, producing the bronze plates alone could exceed $400 million. The internal structure, combining steel, titanium, and carbon fiber composites, would require advanced modeling to ensure balance and durability. Modern builders would use digital twins and finite element analysis to simulate stress loads, wind resistance, and seismic activity. The core could use a steel exoskeleton similar to the Eiffel Tower's internal lattice, lightweight yet incredibly strong. Add the electrical systems for internal lighting, stabilization sensors, and visitor walkways, and we're entering another $150 to $200 million in engineering costs. Altogether, a faithful yet structurally modern recreation of the Colossus of Rhodes could cost between $1.5 and $2 billion. But cost isn't the only challenge. The Colossus was not just an engineering marvel, so it was a symbol. To rebuild it today, we'd also need to capture its meaning. The people of Rhodes built it after defending their freedom against overwhelming odds. They melted the weapons of war to create a monument of peace and unity. Rebuilding it now could represent a new chapter for Greece, a bridge between ancient creativity and modern innovation. In fact, architects and artists have proposed modern versions of the Colossus before. One concept called the New Colossus of Rhodes proposed a massive 150-meter tall structure made of glass and light. A solar-powered monument that would serve as both museum and lighthouse. Another vision imagined a kinetic statue whose panels would move with the wind, shimmering like the sun god himself. Modern engineers could use renewable materials and smart systems to make the Colossus not just a statue, but a living monument. Part solar tower, part art installation, part cultural beacon. But could it actually stand? Using today's technology, the Colossus could easily be taller and stronger than its ancient predecessor. A 300-foot version built with modern alloys and reinforced concrete would be feasible with current engineering techniques. Similar to how we construct skyscraper-scale sculptures and observation towers. The design process would begin with digital scanning of historical records and artistic interpretations. Engineers would use parametric modeling software to simulate the structure's balance, optimizing every segment for weight and wind flow. Each panel would be prefabricated, transported by barge to Rhodes, and assembled using giant cranes. A process that could take up to 5 years from foundation to final bronze finish. The statue could even be equipped with an observation deck inside the head or shoulders, allowing visitors to look out over the Aegean Sea, just as ancient sailors once looked up at their bronze guardian. In pure engineering terms, the Colossus could absolutely rise again. The challenge lies in funding, purpose, and vision. Would it be rebuilt as an exact replica of the ancient design, a static figure frozen in time, or as a 21st century reinterpretation celebrating progress and sustainability? A historically accurate replica would emphasize craftsmanship and material authenticity. A modern version could incorporate solar panels, interactive displays, and LED lighting, turning it into a global symbol of innovation and culture. Either approach would transform Rhodes into one of the most visited destinations on Earth. If built, the Colossus could rival global icons like the Statue of Liberty, Christ the Redeemer, and the Burj Khalifa in both symbolism and spectacle. It would stand not only as a tribute to ancient Greece, but also as a testament to what humanity can build when art and engineering unite. The original Colossus may have fallen, but its legacy never did. It represents a timeless truth, that from the ruins of destruction, humanity always rebuilds. Rebuilding the Colossus today wouldn't just be about metal and money. It would be about spirit, the same fearless creativity that once turned melted weapons into a god of the sun. And maybe that's why the Colossus continues to inspire. Because in every age, we look to giants, not to remind us of their power, but of our own potential to create wonders that last for eternity. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel to see more videos of wonders and builds around the world.